Hey guys, welcome back to the Fit Dad Lifestyle Podcast. Today we've got Jared Purcell. So Jared's from the Broken Fathers Podcast, which is launching in 2025, which is going to expose the family court system to the Aussie public. Mate, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Mate, I'd love to get started with a little bit about you as a youngster. Where did you grow up? Where'd you go to school and what did you do for fun, as a child growing up?
Yeah, mate. So I'm a born and bred Brizzy boy. By no means do I go for Brisbane Broncos, though. Um, Grew up in Dunham Park, small little suburb, which is only like 2K from the city. Little suburb. My mum's Australian, my father's Kiwi, my grandmother's Fijian, my grandfather's Samoan. So a bit of a fruit salad. I've got the beard though, so everyone thinks I'm sort of Lebanese. Got a brother. Had an awesome upbringing, mate. Grew up in the '90s when you've probably seen on Instagram where you had to be home when the lights are on. No social media, just bikes everywhere. So yeah, had a really good upbringing. Went to Brisbane State High School, a rugby union dominated school in the GPS competition. My parents split when I was 12, but my parents are still best friends today. They had an amicable break. A lot of people still think my parents are still together today because they're best friends. And then did my schooling at Brisbane State High School. When I was in high school, I did a what they call VOPRO, or you did 3 days of schooling, 1 day of TAFE, and I did a traineeship with Queensland Police Service, actually, which a lot of people don't know. But yeah, mate. And then when I finished school, I haven't even asked you. When I finished school, I started bouncing, and I was working with a family nightclub at Kevy Hayward. Do you remember Kevy from Six?
Don't think so. No, not off the top of my head.
So there's a few 6-hour boys that were bouncing on the weekend for extra money, and that's where I met a few of the Six boys, and that was in 2008. And then they were training me up at the door because they were about to deploy. I don't know what trip that was, RTF1 or something, whatever you guys were on then. Yeah. And then, that's what made me realize, I'll join the army. So, yeah.
Mate, very, very similar upbringing. And it's funny you mentioned the street lights and all that. And right now, like I think of even my kids out there, I don't think they'd survive in the way we grew up. And like literally, you take your bike out into the neighborhood and you would be on your bike riding to different friends' houses, and like you had the phone call, and it's literally if you ring up your mate and he's not there, well, you're riding another 5Ks back home, and like there's no other options.
You,
It's crazy.
you couldn't keep us home. Me and my 2 cousins, we were out, and we all had imagination, and right, like a stick would be a sword, a rifle, a
Yep.
wand, and you would have to drag us home. Whereas these days, I think it's hard to try and get your kids out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mate, 100%. And what made you join the military? Was it the interactions with the guys bouncing? Was that sort of the catalyst to you joining, or did you have itch through your traineeship and the police force to get into that public service sort of sector?
Mate, to be honest, as much as bouncing was fun, especially working at the family nightclub back then, I just knew it wasn't a career moving forward. I would hear the stories of Kevin and some of those Six boys that were coming in, and during then the deployments were rapid. Timor, Iraq, Afghanistan, and I just thought that's something that I want to do. And when I would ring them during the day, that it'd be 2 o'clock in the hour, and I said, "What have you done?" They said, "I went to the grenade range, and everybody been home." And it's at the time it sounds so cool, and then when you join, it obviously is a little bit
You
different.
go to the grenade range once every 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. But he sold it well. We've
Yeah.
been to the gym, and it's already 2 o'clock. We're home. I was like, but
Must have
uh,
been getting the kickback for sign-ups or something back then.
yeah. So yeah, man, I just thought, you know what, that's something that I want to do. So yeah, joined when I was 20. That was 2008. Did Kapuka, and then I actually went to Singo and was in the holding platoon, and then they sent us to Tuara to do all our IETs up there. So yeah.
Yeah, mate, that's fantastic. What year did you get to two?
Mate, October 2008, I marched in.
Yep.
Yeah, because when were you there?
Yeah, I was there end of '06, and I left at the end of '08. So we got back from Timor, I reckon March or something '08, and they were raising numbers at the time for 8, 9, and I just wanted to get back down the coast, and that was just screaming for numbers, and basically anyone who was applied was getting in, and I originally wanted to go 6 because all the boys were there, and that's where I originally wanted to go, and from the IETs, it just wasn't an option. It was like a posting that was just so rare to get. So I took the opportunity to go down there, and I didn't really like the whole garrison city of Townsville. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved it all the time with the boys. Lived in North Ward, we're out all the time in town and stuff like that. But I just didn't like the label of just AJs, 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 and you were just sort of judged everywhere you went, and I just didn't really like that. So by going to Brisbane, you were just another nobody essentially, and that's what I really craved. And I wanted to play footy again and just get closer to the sunny coast. So.
Yeah. Yeah, nice, man. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When you're in towns or even on the weekend, it feels like you're still at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, mate. Everyone in town's defence in some way, shape, or form, and then there's just always the politics that goes with that, unfortunately. And it's all well and good. Like the reason I joined was I was playing state league footy at the time, didn't get drafted, all that kind of good stuff, which I've spoken about many times before. But it was the closest thing to a footy team of what I could find, and it was like got to train with the boys, hang out with the boys, party with the boys, fight with the boys, and that was all I wanted. So that was sort of the reason why I joined, and probably one of the biggest things that I miss today.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you from originally?
From Southwest Victoria, so Portland, little country town there, about 10,000. So moved up Brizzy, played with Redland Bombers in the QAFL when I was 18, and then joined the army at about 8.5, 19.
You don't follow rugby league at all?
No, mate, I don't. And it was funny because when I was going through Kapuka, it was all the different. I think Origin was on at the time, and I just like Melbourne Storm may have been around, but maybe it wasn't publicized as much back then. And one of the nights it was Origin night, and we actually all went into the foyer area there in Kapuka in the Lions, and everyone's watching this footy, and I thought it was great because we didn't have to iron or do any fucking stupid shit like that, but everyone, all these mad guys just going. I just seen blues. I'm going, yeah, this game's all right, but I've got no idea what it is. Like for so long, I used to bag out everyone, just go, fuck, it's a beat test with the ball. It's just 20 meters back and forth with the ball, like. And they'd be doing the same with me with AFL so mate, that was my introduction to, I guess, rugby, just never been exposed to it. But then you started playing touch footy and rugby when you got to the unit, and it was even now I'll watch maybe the Origins or I'll watch the grand final, or if the AFL's at halftime or something like that, and I'll flick it over and just watch whatever's happening at the time. But yeah, I don't really go out of my way to watch too much of it at the moment.
Very cool.
So, mate, tell us about your military, journey. Did you go on many deployments, and how long did you end up serving for?
Mate, marched into the 2nd Battalion in October. I think we were lucky because the battalion just went out on Swift Eagle, I think, 4-week egg, so we dodged that. And then Timor and Iraq were happening the following year, so I marched in the Alpha Company, and then the Bravo Company had more senior digs. Alpha Company was sort of full of leads, so Bravo got the Iraq trip, the SecDet trip, and then we got the Timor trip. Yeah, so I was in the battalion probably 6 months, and then we're deploying to East Timor. So first deployment, 21. It was great looking back. It was 21 years old, in another country with the boys, which I think played a good stepping stone for Afghanistan, which happened, a few years later, But yeah, TLBG6 was the deployment, 8 months, came back, and then we were pretty much out bush for all that year, 2010, getting ready for Afghan in 2011. And I think the support courses that I did, I just thought I'm going to do support courses which are going to help benefit me getting a trip. And obviously, SIGs is one. You always need communications. And then obviously, Mortars attracted me. The boys were just kicking back, gobbling off. Didn't really want to do recon or anything. So yeah, I did mortar course, and then I was lucky enough. MTF3 came up, and I got on in the mortar section attached with the Alpha Company. So that was MTF3 in 2011. That was an 8-month stint, and yeah, mate, I got 2 trips in my 4 years, which is kind of unheard of for like a battalion boy anyway, you know what I mean? Like, obviously all the commandos and SAS boys were just doing back-to-back trips, but I was pretty happy with that, my 4 years. And to be honest, we had a pretty heavy trip. We'd lost 4 guys, and I was pretty drained, to be honest, when I came back. I was in an OP in Wali, in the Mirabad Valley, no toilets, no showers, no running water, just burning your own feces every day. So I was pretty burnt out, to be honest. So when I come back, I just saw, well, I got 2 trips. The big carrot was dangled, which was Afghan, and I achieved that. And I just thought I would discharge. So yeah, I did my 4 years and came back and discharged.
Yeah, mate. It was definitely, yeah, to get a few trips in the battalion was unheard of. And I've been listening to a lot of Matty Morris's Zero Limit stuff lately, and hearing some of those commandos and SAS trips, like every 4 or 5 months, they're literally rolling back out and back in, and like some of them done 12, 15 tours. It's, mate, you understand, why there are so many broken veterans out there, physically and mentally, because of the workload that they went through, which is probably unheard of for the whole history of, I guess the Defence Force, even back to, I guess in the earlier campaigns and all that, it was a lot longer, but just the tempo that these guys are running for a good 10, 15 years is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were doing 6 months on, 6 months off, to be honest. They were just doing back to back. Yeah. So
Yeah, mate, 100%. And what about post-military, mate? Up until now, what is the journey of yourself up until this stage?
mate, got out. I was lucky enough. I went up to Emerald. We had a lot of family up there in the mines, and I was lucky. I literally walked into a job, and I was working underground, doing infrastructure, so doing all the maintenance on the belts. Good crew, and this is where that transition period sort of started happening. I actually ended up taking on a big gambling addiction. So I was doing 5 days on, 5 days off. And on my days off, I just, mining towns, I train, do the washing, and I had some time to kill. So I ended up going to the tavern and, came across pokies. And then, I just sort of, before this, I never ever went out to gamble with intent. I just was killing time. And yeah, I learned how to play pokies. And to be honest, mate, it just escalated so quick. I was playing 1 pokies to playing 2 pokies at a time to pulling out 2 grand, which was my max limit. Then I would manually walk across to the branch and manually withdraw money. And just before you know it, mate, it would just escalate so quick. I'd be there for 12 hours at a time. People knew me on a nickname basis. I'd sit at home tapping the remote, just itching to get to the tavern. And I'd just jump in the car, and I was literally, and this is bad, but it's the truth. I'd get to an intersection. I wouldn't even look left and right. I'd just speed through because I couldn't get to that poker machine quick enough, and it just grew out of hand. And I think later on in life, when I got diagnosed with PTSD, the psych said, yeah, that was linked to your, all this addiction was linked to your PTSD, which I didn't know at the time. But yeah, mate, my cousin called me up, said, I think you got a gambling problem. And, subconsciously, at the back of my mind, I knew, but it wasn't until my deployment money, I think I probably put $60,000 through the poker machines in probably 3 months at the Maribyrnong Tavern in Emerald. And I think once I hit rock bottom, I think when it comes to addiction, the first step is you have to accept that you have a problem. I've helped people with addiction before, and if they're not going to accept the fact that they have a problem, you're wasting your time. And I know that sounds cruel, but that's the first step, that you have to accept that you have a problem. So I moved back to Brizzy, saw Relationships Australia, which is a government-funded counselling organisation, and I saw them. And yeah, man, I saw them like once a week for probably 3 months. And yeah, I stopped gambling. It was just, you know, I've done some research and I might have this wrong, but out of all the addictions in the world, gambling has the highest suicide rate because if someone has an addiction to drugs, they can't hide it. You can tell when someone's on drugs. If someone's got a drinking problem, their speech is slow, they reek of alcohol. When you have a gambling problem, you can go live a second life. You can pretend you've been at work all day, but come home and say, you say you've been at work all day, but really you've been gambling. And some guys find themselves, losing all their money. The wife doesn't know, they're about to lose the house, and they find themselves in quicksand, and the hole just gets deeper and deeper. So, moved back, mate. I learned how to survive again. I was working for my mate at the fruit markets, like $500 a week, and it was probably the best thing that happened to me, because I just had to learn how to survive again, and I thought that was rock bottom at the time, but you don't realize until later in life you hit a deeper rock bottom, But yeah, mate, came back, and then the mutual friend of ours, Junior, was working in Nauru, and Nauru kicked off, and he said, mate, they need ex-army guys over here. The conditions are shit house. They can't get people to stay here, and we're living in tents, and they're paying good money. And yeah, I jumped on that, mate, which later on turned out to be, we joke about it, we call it 10 RAR, because it's just from every battalion was coming. And yeah, we all ran the emergency response teams there, and yeah, I was there for about 2 years, and that was actually really good. To be honest, that was probably one of the best gigs I worked, because it was fun, but we kind of did take the piss there. Like, we're playing arsehole, like, card game that everyone plays in the military. And but yeah, mate, worked and just worked. Got back on my feet again, and yeah, mate, that took me up to 2013, 2014. Worked in Nauru, then 2015, I went to Papua New Guinea, and I was working privately there doing close personal protection. Used to fly up to Lae and back, picking up gold bullions and moving gold for a client. And actually, Papua New Guinea was an awesome place to work. I think what makes it is, the people you work for, and the resources you have. And yeah, mate, 2015, that finished up there. And then one of the boys, Yogi, bless his soul, he's passed away recently. He said, "You want to jump on the Afghan gig, doing close personal protection there?" And I said, "Yeah, that's sweet." So I jumped on that for a year. That was good. I think it was good to see how the private circuit worked, and it was in Afghanistan I never saw before. Kabul was totally different to being out in the dash on a patrol basis. So worked with a lot of really good operators there. And then, yeah, mate, worked there for a year. Then a lot of the boys that I worked with in a lot of 6 hour boys, actually Leo and all that, they were doing emergency response in the mines. And I was in Afghan. I asked them how much they were making, and they said they were making more money than I was working in Afghan.
Yeah, 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off, and they're making more back there.
Yeah, and they're only working 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, came back, mate, did all my courses. And yeah, I got a gig working over in a Wheatstone project in Western Australia with the boys. And yeah, that one predominantly worked in emergency response from 2017 onwards up until I met my partner in 2020. And yeah, it's sort of where the nightmare sort of starts to begin.
Yeah, mate, just touching on the Afghan stuff. I reckon Nauru was 10 RAR. I reckon Kabul was 11 RAR. It was, mate, it was the rest of the boys were over there, and it was, mate, depending on who the security managers were at the time, was whatever battalion had the majority of the crew.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think when I was there, it was 7 RAR was the main catalyst, because that was the crew at the time. But it was, yeah, that was a pretty good gig. It was so much time to train, and good food, and just good guys. I think. And then first class or business class with Emirates to and from, that was pretty bonus as well. So,
oh man,
yeah, mate. It's actually so similar, the journey we've had, the upbringing to the sporting, to how we grew up in the childhood, to the military same units, and then post-military as well. It's crazy how you speak to a lot of guys just like us, and it's a very similar journey, a very similar sort of experiences in school and sporting and friendships, and just gets to that stage. So it's actually really refreshing to speak to someone who understands that path as well, and sort of relates, you can relate to them, so much easier.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mate, so let's get into the Broken Fathers podcast. It is something, with the Fit Dad lifestyle, dealing with thousands and thousands of dads over the last, 5 years. I see it so much. The broken, court systems, the broken, um, just relationships, and how dads are just basically put through the ringer nonstop in a world that is very much tailored towards the mother, or tailored towards the women. And it's unfortunate, but there's been a lot of friends and a lot of people I've known in their life because of this situation, because they just have no more fight left in them. And as much as they want to give everything to their kids, just financially they're ruined, emotionally, physically, mentally. It just gets to a stage where it all ends. And mate, I if would love to go into your story as best and as much as you want to put out there, in the hope that we can maybe inspire another dad out there who's listening, who may be going through something like this themselves, to reach out to yourself, to potentially jump on your podcast next year, and maybe have a listen to a few other stories that from your interviews and your own experience, and may give them the hope that there may be another avenue that they haven't been through yet, in the hope that eventually it works out good for them. So
Yeah, mate. I'll try and control my emotions. I haven't opened up about it. I open up about all everyone all the time, but not online, which I will in depth on when I do my episode on my one. But mate, look, to give everyone a bit of a background story, I met my ex in middle of 2019, at a strip club. Obviously, not the ideal place to be meeting people, but yeah, we didn't go on a date till sort of 6 months later. And we went on a date, we kicked it off, and things just happened very quick. So, that was January 2020. We went on our first date, and then, I think COVID happened 3-4 months later, the start of COVID.
yeah,
And she's not from here, she's from England. So she was originally on a tourist visa, then she was on a student visa. And, we met, COVID happened, strip clubs got shut down. I said, why don't you move in with me? 3 months later, she was pregnant. And look, I not once did I ever think that I would be with someone and have them pregnant only 6 months in, but it just felt right at the time. I felt like it's the only time I've ever fallen in love, and I fell in love with her. And, it just seems right, and everything was happening smoothly. Like Father's Day came up and she was pregnant, and we surprised mum and dad. Put the pregnancy result in a little box, and yeah, mate, she wanted me. I was working in FIFO emergency response up in Blackwater, and she wanted me home all the time. So I joined Australia Border Force, and I was accepted.
yep,
And it just everything just felt perfect. And then looking back now, were there little signs, red flags there? Yeah, like she would question pretty much. She started questioning everything I did, like why would go. This is going to sound silly, but I used to take the jet ski out all the time, and my mate would call me and say, because he could see the water, if it was smooth or glassy, and say the weather's good, let's take the jet ski out. And she would just question, why are you taking the jet ski out? And I just wouldn't understand what she's trying to mean. And she would say, that's for single people, you shouldn't be doing that. And then, I know this sounds silly, but these were the things that just didn't make sense to me at the time. And, she would question, she would measure if the car seat had been moved, the passenger seat with her fingers. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, has this car seat been moved? Have you had someone in the car? And, these very controlling. If I went to the gym for 40 minutes and the next day I went to the gym for 45 minutes, she would question me, how come you took 5 minutes longer? And so there were flags there, but at the time you're in love and you just dismiss it and you just think she's pregnant, and the emotions and hormones, stuff like that. And then we started clashing a bit, and then so we saw counselling, and we actually used the veteran organisation called they run courses. It'll come to me, but they ran like a counselling program, and it was at SeaWorld.
Yep.
So if you're a veteran, you go along. And yeah, a heated argument happened in the room, and it's crazy to think at that time she was going off at me in the room. And bear in mind, she's pregnant, and my gut feeling just said, "You need to record this conversation." And I did. I put my phone, but that should have been a massive red flag for me in itself. I trusted my gut feeling, record this. I recorded it, which played massive part like years there in court. And we had this ups and downs with our relationship, and then my daughter was born, and I've only been in love once, right? And you would understand. I think a lot of guys listening. I worked overseas. Out of those 20s, I was overseas for 6 years. For 4 countries, and then I became desensitized to a lot of things. And one of the greatest memories I'll always take to the grave, regardless of the trauma and the pain that my ex has caused. Watching her give birth to our daughter was hands down one of the most memorable moments of my life. And as a father, because you don't feel she carried our daughter every day. As a father, that's when the emotions kick. Like she was overdue. They had to put on what's it called, epidural, and when she's pushing, you're like, shit, she's doing this for us. Like all the pain. And when my daughter popped out, man, it was the best. And then I didn't know what love was, until my daughter was born. And then yeah, look, my daughter was born, and I feel like it was always we always pushed ourselves in the right direction, but we end up back at square one. And then there was arguing going on. Mum was coming down to help us. I was still a recruit with Australia Border Force. So I was working Monday to Friday, so we got Mum to come down and help me with the workload, because I couldn't miss too many days, of course. Otherwise,
Yeah.
and then, mate, yeah, look, it just there was a lot of arguing while she's holding our daughter. My mum witnessed it all. With Australia Border Force, when we went to our recruitment, you had to wear a cover shirt over the top of your uniform. You couldn't wear your uniform. And I know this sounds crazy, but one day I grabbed the button-up shirt to cover my shirt, and she accused me of going out after because it was a button-up shirt. This sounds silly, and it is silly, and it probably won't make sense to a lot of people, but everything was questioned. Everything I did was questioned. Like, I started to have anxiety because, let's just say, for example, me and her went down to Westfield on a Saturday to do shopping. If I saw a girl that I went to primary school with, for example, and I haven't seen her since primary school, if I saw her, I would have extreme anxiety, because I know that if she came and said hi to me afterwards, I would have to justify why I know her, how I know her, what her Instagram is. If we've ever had sex, it was just crazy. And my life was just full of anxiety. I had to justify, and if I drove somewhere, she would FaceTime me to prove where I was. Like, if I said I was going to the gym, she'd wait 10 minutes and FaceTime me to prove I was at the gym. And people will question, well, why are we in that relationship? It's, I'm guilty of doing that to other guys too. You just slip into this paralysis, and before you know it, you're in it. And yeah, mate, so I was dealing with this, working Monday to Friday on the recruit course, getting up early, go to the gym, sit in traffic for an hour and a half every day, go one way, come back the other. I would relieve her of dad duties. She would go to the gym, and I was wrecked. Saturday, I'd run around, do all the shopping, pay all the bills, and Sunday was our relaxed day, And on a Sunday, mum and dad would come down and see their only grandchild, and which would give us a bit of a break, and we might take the jet skis out. And I used to say to her, like, we live a really blessed life. She's like, what do you mean? I said, listen, we've got the big house, we've got the cars, jet skis, like, we've got investment property, it's all positively geared. And she just didn't appreciate the life we're living. Like, she thinks a blessed life is a mansion with Ferraris and that, and nothing I did was good enough. She always wanted more, I bought her a car, wasn't good enough. She wanted a better car. She was always comparing someone else's life to ours. Well, he has a Range Rover. Why can't you buy me a Range Rover? And I was waiting for Australia Border Force at the time, so we applied for the partner visa, and we got it. I knew what to submit, 12 months evidence. It was smooth sailing for me. We didn't need lawyers. And so we got the partner visa, and yeah, mate, then just before graduation, we used to Skype with when you're on a recruit course. Australia Border Force used Skype a lot. We used to do these group tasks, and there was 5 people in that group, and there was this one young bird on our course, and she used to help me with everything. She just heard her voice on Skype, and she just didn't like her, for whatever reason. But she used to help me with all my notes because, mate, the first 6 months of Australia Border Force course is legislation, and mate, definitely PowerPoint. I couldn't keep up notes.
Yeah.
And then the last 6 months is on the job training, which is split up into 3 phases. And so she just accused me of having a relationship with this girl just based off hearing her voice. Anyway, so we get in this big argument in the lead up to my my graduation. So Tula was probably four months old by now. We get this counsellor down. I said, listen, we need to get someone down here because this is not going well. And I always thought, I don't want to pull the pin on something unless I've tried everything. I don't want to put my head on the pillow and be in and ahhing. What if I did this? What if I did that? So we got this dude down from Sunny Coast, cost us like $6,000 for 3 days. We did this 3-day course with him. And again, it was a push in the right direction. But we'd always back up at square one. Anyway, like 3 nights before my graduation, this argument broke out, and I walked out to the spare bedroom. You couldn't lock the door. I tried to barricade the door with a Christmas tree because I just couldn't get to sleep because she would just go off every now and then. And at that time, the market was hot. So I sold one of my investment properties, and it was a 6-week settlement. So the settlement was, I booked this dinner to say thank you to the real estate agent. And it'd been booked in for some time. The graduation happened 3 nights before that. She wanted to stay at an Airbnb, so I paid for an Airbnb. She just wanted her own space, no worries. We were still talking though. She came to my graduation, brought my daughter. The tension was really bad because she was just death staring one of the girls that was graduating with me. Again, nothing ever happened between us. She had her own man, but just really embarrassing my own because my ex was just there death staring everyone. Anyway, graduation happened. I said thank you for coming. We met up with a cafe afterwards in Wyndham, and she attacked me at this cafe. There's no evidence there though for me to prove it, but she attacked me. Later that day, I said, listen, just come to the house. We need to sort this out. She came, talked. It was peaceful. I said, the dinner this night has been booked for some time. Why don't you just come to this dinner? She came to this dinner at the real estate agent. Now had friends there, and obviously she'd just been bottled up all week, this tension. And we're at dinner. She was being snappy. She obviously had enough. She was being rude to everyone. She asked me to come outside, and she was having a go at me outside. And I don't know if you follow me, I'll see it on my Instagram. I've got all the CCTV footage there. During our time all together, whenever we'd argue, the first phase I would argue back. But then she pushed me to a second phase, which was, you know what, don't argue back, just acknowledge everything she says. And when I did that, she would say, are you just going to sit there and say, okay? Which pushed me to the third phase, I'll just walk away. So she pulled me out of this restaurant in Sanctuary Cove. She was going off at me. I just ignored her and I walked off. And then this is where she attacked me. I was standing flat-footed on my, or in an Uber on my phone, and she dog shot at me. And then she jumped on me and kicked and punched me 7 times after that. It's all recorded on CCTV. And at that point, I knew the relationship was probably done now. Like there's no turning back. And I knew, being a big, heavily tattooed man, as soon as that happened, I just looked around. I looked at the time. I looked at the shop I was outside of because I knew I would have to tell Queensland Police to get the cameras outside this shop at this time. This is where you're going to see it all. Now, I jumped in an Uber after that. I put up my phone recorder because that's the only way I knew it would stop. Now, my Uber had to pass her. And again, this sounds silly because we just had a fight, but, we're both in love, whatever. And I said, listen, just jump in the Uber. We'll head back to ours. Obviously, things are still quite hostile. She's in the front, I'm in the back. She's going off. She starts going off again. I just said, I'm going to have to record this again. So I recorded the Uber's QR code at the back to identify the driver. she's going off. The Uber driver had enough. She gets out. No, she gets out. I was lucky because she opens the door, the light and the Uber comes on, and then she starts attacking me through the car at the back, and I've recorded it all. Now, at this point in time, I'm in an Uber heading back to mine. We have a babysitter there with our daughter, 6-month-old daughter. She's going to get another Uber and head back to mine. I don't know how to solve this problem. So I just called the police. I didn't call triple O. I just called the hotline number. I said, listen, this is not an emergency, but this is what's happened. I don't know what to do, but we're both going back to the house and it's going to kick off again. She said, no worries. We'll send a car out there. I get back to mine, and as I'm walking up to the house, the babysitter locks the door on me. She's called the babysitter and saying that I'm going to try and keep out my door, blah, blah, blah. Now, I know it's her story against mine, so I call, we lived in a state where there was security, so I called the security. I said, listen, guys, this is what's happened. I just need you guys to come and be a witness because stuff's going to kick off. So they came down with the saw. She kicks off, goes to the house. I'm left outside the house. I'm sitting in front of my CCTV the whole time. I know I need to be watched the whole time. Cops come. They just said, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to leave? I said, well, no, this is my house. I want to stay with my daughter. She has an Airbnb. She can go. And they said, well, she's drunk. She can't drive, but the babysitter can drive her. So anyway, look, she leaves. The next day we meet up. It's all peaceful. And I just thought, listen, we'll get through it. I know you're not from here. I'll pay rent for you somewhere 12 months up front. Let's try and work out a co-parent agreement. Yeah, sweet, no worries. Now, bear in mind, I didn't think that I'd end up in the position that I did in court. I just thought we were going to work it out. I transferred her $15,000. I said, here's the TIO for now. Find a place to rent, 12 months rent up front, and we'll work out a co-parent agreement. I did that. She picked a place, a fully furnished place in Chevron Renaissance. The market was red hot at the time. So she didn't have a job. So the only way I was going to win this application was to pay 12 months up front. It cost me 42.5 grand. Because I want my daughter to have a shelter of it, but you know. And that's the thing. She'll use my daughter against me. She'd say, your daughter needs a place to live. My daughter can just stay with me, but she's using it. So as soon as I paid that 12 months rent up front, 2 weeks later, as soon as I paid that rent up front, direct to the real estate agent, not to her, she went and put a temporary protection order on me, and which she didn't go through the cops, she didn't go through the lawyer, she rocked up to the DV. There's like a registry claim I didn't know about at the courthouse. She claimed that her life was in danger that day. She put my daughter's name on the TPO, and they rushed her through that day. They just stamped it off. And she used that TPO to go to the real estate agent and legally break the lease. And they transferred her 35 grand out of the 42.5 I paid direct to her savings account. And then she just cut comms. And I didn't know where my daughter was. For 4 months, it was the longest 4 months of my life. I had to file family paperwork because to get her to court. I didn't know she was going to leave the country. During that time, she got her a British passport. I thought both parents would have to sign off on it. Because we're Commonwealth, I realised you don't. She just needs to. And yeah, mate, like I used to kiss my daughter goodbye and kiss her every time I came home. And then just like that, click of her fingers, it's gone. I don't know where my daughter is. I had people fly from Sydney at Christmas time. We're all supposed to have family, first family Christmas together. They were going to meet her for the first time. And does it, mate. And that 4 months, honestly, you can keep yourself busy mentally and physically when you're not not at home, but when you're at home and you come back to empty house and your daughter's room's there, mate, my dog played a big part because you're staring at a ceiling. And yeah, mate, it was the longest 4 months of my life. And yeah, we filed paperwork, and then once we got to family court, all these allegations come out to try and sink me. They say you have to go on supervision. I had to be supervised. I had to go to court order. And for the first 6 weeks, I could only see my daughter for 1 hour on a Sunday. And I had to pay $110 for the hour to hold my daughter. And I had to be in the supervision centre. And that 4 months, I drove from Coomera Waters to Narang to see my daughter for the first time. And I just cried from the whole time, the emotions. I just knew I was going to see my daughter finally for the first time. And mate, it was the most degrading. To try and control my emotion. To be treated like a pedophile, because that's what that's quite a lot of these things will fall off, or parents that can't be trusted. I sat in there and I had my first anxiety uh, or panic attack. I was just hyperventilating, staring at the door, waiting for my daughter to be brought in. And I've got a photo of it. You're not allowed to take photos of your kids and that. And, you know, they have to take photos, the centre does, and they send it to you. And I just remember that.
Mate, do you want to pause the recording?
Show it for what it is. Show it for what it is. Mate, yeah. They brought my daughter in and, you know, she was crawling by then. And I just remember I just cried the whole time. And, that it's like your daughter's just like some bit of equipment that you've hired out for an hour. They just say you've got 5 minutes to go. And then they just take your daughter off you. And I'm just staring at her as she's looking at me. She's just staring at me and she's getting taken away. It's it's the most putrid feeling, man. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone,
Yeah.
And all I got was 1 hour every Sunday for the first 6 weeks. She wouldn't even agree to put my parents on there. I had to fight in court to get my parents' name on there. And then I had to fight to get an extra hour. So I had to file interim hearings to get an extra hour. And then she would cancel. I've got all the log of the date she cancelled. She just the night before she would say we're sick. She wouldn't come. And then my dad's a correctional officer, like 26 years, still going. And now he has to ask if he can go to the toilet. He has to ask to get a photo of his only grandchild. I have to take my daughter to a room, and someone has to stand behind me and watch me change her nappy. Just it's the most degrading. It's the most degrading feeling you could think. And you just hot seat. You're waiting for one. The next father comes out, and I'm staring at him, thinking, "What's he in here for? Like, is he in here for some legit thing, or is he doing stuff over like I am?" And then, yeah, mate, then you're just dealing with all the allegations. And, mate, I've dealt with every allegation you can think of, and I've squashed them all. I did everything the court asked for. That 3 years, I did a triple P positive parenting program course. I did the Circle of Security parenting course. They wanted me to do a behavioral men's change program because I had PTSD. I did it. I got a letter from the GP saying no concerns, a letter from the psych saying no concerns. I got the supervision family note saying no concerns. I did 2 hair follicle tests, all passed. I did 5 random drug and alcohol tests, I did emergency response, all passed. It didn't matter what I did or what I gave them, they always wanted more.
So even all the evidence you had, all the video footage, CCTV, everything that didn't even come into account. It was basically siding with her regardless of all the proof that you just said then and all the external, proof and support and camera footage as well.
So we were in DV court and then the family court, so 2 separate courts.
Yep.
Now, what I can say for this was, for any father listening, I had a female judge, and I just thought, in DV court,
like game over from the get-go.
Game over, big tattoo, they'd all be a veteran, they just, trained killer. They use all this terminology, And, she was using, because when someone puts a DV on you, they're entitled to women's legal service. They're not legal aid, women's legal service. They have a separate funding, quite a lot of money. So she was using pro bono barristers against me. Now, my barrister would always talk to them before court saying, are are you sure you want to do this? You're wasting your time. Like, you got no evidence, just here's the allegation. We're the ones with all the evidence. But you know what? It didn't bother them because they still get paid. It didn't bother my ex because she's not using money. So I took it to trial. And, you know, again, for fathers listening, you go to this thing called a pre-readiness trial where they're supposed to make sure you've crossed your T's, dotted your I's. Okay, we'll give you a trial date. They did that. We rocked up. I had 5 people, 5 witnesses come. They've had to take time off work. One was a mother. She had to breastfeed all her milk for her child baby at the time. Trial went for 2 days. They come down and they get it adjourned because they want more time to subpoena. Now it shouldn't have been allowed because the whole point of pre-readiness trial was to make sure everyone's good to go. I've taken time off work. 5 of my friends have taken time off work, and it's just this domino effect it has on everyone. And then I'll put the DV stuff to bed straight away. During the family court stuff, you see a family report writer. Now, the family report writer just sided with my ex based on all the DV allegations. Now, go back to DV court. I took it to trial and I won. The application was thrown out. It was dismissed. Now, that judge restored my faith because she would ask me a question. I could have a full-blown conversation, you know. Now, another thing that my ex would do, every time we'd start the DV court, the judge would say, "Where's your client?" Talking to my ex's legal team. And she would say, "Oh, she's in the safe room. Is it all right for her to bring in?" And I'm thinking, "Are you serious?" So she'll walk in the court like hunched over like this as if she's real fragile. I'm the one that got pelted, you know. And then she has this support team with her that's death staring me because obviously my ex has been bagging me up for 2 hours.
Yep.
They play all the footage, all the evidence, all the real hard evidence, not hearsay allegations, the hard evidence of her assaulting me. And I'll look at her and her team and think, you know, what now? What are you going to say now? And she's crying, and everyone in the court is asking if she's okay. You know, it's just crazy. And, the judge saw it for what I was and threw it out. And they put a DV on her, you know. And the next thing we did was my legal team told the independent children lawyer, ICL. So for those listening, when in the family court, they appoint an independent children lawyer for your child. Now, we hit her up and said, we need a new family report because this one has to be thrown out because I've squashed it all. And she said, no, it's fine. It's all good. Now, fast forward to years later, when we go to the trial for family court, they adjourn it. The day of the court trial, the ICL, independent children lawyer, asked for it to be adjourned. Not me, not my ex, the independent children lawyer, because she goes, oh, we need an updated family report. 4 months ago, we told the same independent children lawyer, we need an updated family report. And she tells us, no. We get to trial and she just fobs us off. Now, you've just wasted 4 months. During all this time, I'm still being robbed time for my daughter, you know? So I rewind back a bit. It took me 12 months to get out of supervision centre. And I had to fight to get, so I went from 1 hour every Sunday to 2 hours, and I had to get to 3 hours. And bear in mind, like if I had my daughter for 3 hours on a Saturday, 3 hours on a Sunday, that's $660 I'm paying to hold my daughter, you know. And these are all this whole family court system is a cash cow. Supervision centre.
And who is that money going to? It's obviously not going to the ex. It's going to what, the minder or the support person that's there is, or the centre, or
third party. So you could open up a supervision centre, like it's a business. Yep. You know, I tell people now, if you got money, you want to open a business, open a supervision centre because they're just under the pump with fathers that have to sit in there to see their children. They're paying $110 an hour. Public holiday, $200 an hour. You know.
So you've got child support, you've got payments, you've got all these other external payments, you know, that you're going halves in or agreement in. Plus, then you're paying, like, you wonder why so many fathers out there are literally running themselves dry financially. And I've never even heard about this supervision stuff. So it's new to me. Like it's absolutely crazy.
It is. And yeah, mate, it's sorry, I don't know what's going on that story. You know, during that 4 months, when she was in that unit that I paid for, I was sending a full baby cot package to the unit and it got knocked back. I didn't realize she had moved out of there until we actually got to court, and she went to this emergency accommodation, you know, because she got out of that place. It's all part of the game. Now, when I was with Australia Border Force, they taught me about a loophole in the immigration system. Now, when people come to Australia, they tell them, date an Australian citizen. If the relationships break down before 2 years, put a DV on them, because what happens is you go straight to a protection visa. Now, if you're on a tourist visa, you're only here for about 3 months, you know?
Yep.
you're on a student visa, there's restrictions or limitations. You have to be enrolled in a course, attending the course, paying the course, and you can only work 20 hours a week. Hence why a lot of those girls become strippers, because who can work 20 hours a week and on the books and survive? So when I told her about this when we were together, funny enough, she said, "Oh, I already know about this. My friend Lauren did it to someone, another friend of hers from England." So she already knew about this. That's why as soon as it happened, straight she just did the TPO. She thought that I was trying to kick her out of the country. Not at all. That's her defense mechanism. She's using my daughter as insurance. I'm going to put a TPO and go straight to a protection visa. Which is why another reason it got thrown out and I was awarded costs, because when she put the TPO on me, no one notified me about it. I wasn't given a chance to defend myself. So I fall under this criteria. So I was awarded costs back. I only got like 15 grand back out of the 60 or 70 I dropped on the thing. But that doesn't change the fact that the cops came to my house, they took my weapons. My Australia Border Force got subpoenaed. And when they subpoenaed Australia Border Force, my whole reporting line got subpoenaed. So I got to work, and my mate, who's like my 2IC, goes, "Mate, I just got an email about handing over any documents." And he was like, "What?" So now you become the talk of the town at work. Oh, woman, and I'm guilty of doing this. I'll be the first to put my hand up. Back when I would hear guys say, "Oh, DV on him," I think, "Oh, woman basher," And now here I am. Now I was like, "Here we go." That's it. My career's done. Any promotion, it's not going to happen. And when I was at work, I wasn't functioning. I didn't know where my daughter was. No communication. People are talking to me. I'm sorry, I'm not. I just walked out. I took 3 months leave, no pay. I just walked out. I was not functioning. And a good mate of mine actually put on a fight night for me, bless him, because he said, "We need to keep you busy, mentally and physically," and that's what he did. Yeah, mate. So sorry, where I was going with that. So I squashed the DV, and only for her to put another one on me a couple of months later. All that time and energy, my daughter is high level autistic. She has sensory processing disorder, speech delay, and so the childcare centre she was at, I would call and speak to the manager to ask for progress reports, behavioural reports, progress. And since then, we found out through legal correspondence that my ex was working there. And I just said to the manager, "Hey, listen, like I've heard that my ex is working there now. It doesn't bother me. Can you just not pass on my number? Because just so you're aware, I have a DV on her. And I don't know how that affects her working with kids, but I just thought I'd make you aware of that." Well, first thing she did was tell my ex that. And then my ex went to court and said that I was trying to get her fired. And bear in mind, my child support went down, right? Because she's now working.
Yeah.
And I get served with a, DV documents again. I'm like, "Are you serious? I just squashed it." So we go to Cleveland Court. She was living in Brisbane. I was living on the Gold Coast. And the judge just said, "Yeah, that's a form of DV. You're trying to get her fired." I'm just thinking, how would I be trying to get her fired? My child support just went down. Like, think about it. She's now working. Good on her. I'm trying to get my behavior reports. And my lawyer said that the forms of DV, if you put a TV remote too high for your partner grab, that's a form of DV. Like the levels of DV, it's just anything's DV these days.
Yep.
Here we go again. And then back to the family report writer, and she's like, "Oh, you've got another TPO on you again." And I was just like it's just there's so much to cover. There's not enough hours in the day, obviously, to talk about this stuff. But yeah, mate, it's just this is like I resigned from my work, my career, because I knew I'm just done, and I was drained. And I moved out to the farm that me and some mates had bought, some army mates, avocado farm. It was good for me to just get away from the hustle and bustle. We were helping the farm. There was a mine site not far, so I was working emergency response again. And the amount of legal correspondence you get in the family court, emails, phone calls, affidavits, statements, appointments, it sucks your whole life. Yeah. And it's just a vortex, and your whole life gets consumed from it. And you can't escape the nightmare. You'd go down to the shops and you can see a little toddler in the pram. You're thinking, "Well, where's my daughter? This is what I'm missing out on." First time crawling, first time walking, first time speaking. I'd see grandparents with their grandkids. I'm thinking, "This is what my grandparents." It's just a nightmare that you can never escape. And the cops are calling me, "Oh, we've got a breach of a DV." What? I'll literally laugh and say, "What now?" And she goes, "Oh, she said you tried to ram her off the motorway." I'm thinking, fuck. can you ring the local copper in Blackbutt? Because this is where I live. I'm out here on the farm, and she lives in Brisbane somewhere. I said, come check the car. Clearly, there's not going to be any damage on the car. So let me guess, does she have any evidence? She goes, no, she doesn't. I said, of course she doesn't. There's never any evidence to anything. And this is the thing. When there's allegations, especially child abuse allegations, they take it serious, which I agree, they should be, right?
Yep.
But people learn the system, they think, well, I'll just put all these allegations in towards it and that will sink it. And you name it, I've had child protection call me. We've squashed it. And then when she realized she couldn't get the child protection, she would then jump to child safety. And then child safety put a temporary assessment order on me because she had been putting all these putrid allegations towards me. And so, sorry, rewind. Once I went on, when I went off unsupervised time, we still used the supervision centers to do handover. So I'll just rock up, do handover, and leave. Every time I'd hand my daughter back, I can guarantee you there was a complaint. There was a complaint, there was an allegation, there was always something. And the anxiety, like I couldn't enjoy my time with my daughter because I knew there was going to be another complaint.
Does it get to a stage where, after so many failed attempts at, claiming that you did XYZ with no proof and no, substantial evidence, that they go against her and sort of, just go, shut the fuck up, like, you stop destroying this man?
What I thought, and there was glimpses in court. We'd go to the family. She started breaching court order, and I thought the first time she breached the court order, I thought, beauty, like this is it. Like I called the lawyer, like she didn't rock up to hand my daughter. I said, this is it. Cops are going to kick in her door, and then my lawyer said, sorry, mate, it's not out. I was like, what do you mean? Court order? It's nah, mate. Like we literally have to file paperwork. Is it contravention? Yeah, it's like you have to file this. I think it's contravention or some paperwork. And I'm thinking, are you serious? Like, could you imagine if that was me, the breach? And luckily we had court coming up in a month. So I said it's easier, we'll just address it in court. So in the meantime, she breaches court order for that month. And we got to court and he tore her shreds off. And I thought, here we go, like fine, things turning away. And there was always glimpses of hope. He said to her, he goes, what are you doing this weekend, to my ex? And she goes, oh, I've already made plans. He said, I don't care. Like the father's been missing our time. That's the priority. I thought, here we go. Thank you. Like,
Yeah.
And there's always these glimpses, So, sorry, I should say this. When we were in family court, the main argument was she wanted to relocate back to England. It wasn't about sharing 50 fields. She wanted to relocate back to England permanently. Now, I got a PACE alert, which is a platform which is public knowledge. So I can talk about. It's a platform that Australian Border Force use, airports use. So I got an alert approved to put on my daughter's passport because I said she's a flight risk. She's going to leave the country with my daughter, and they approved it, which was great. So I should have mentioned that. So that gave me peace of mind that my daughter's not good. My ex can leave, but my daughter can't. But that doesn't change the fact that she can argue in trial that she wants to relocate there for good. And her family were writing a statement saying that they can support her financially, do this, financially do that. And what upset me was that I didn't even think this was an argument you could have. I didn't think that you could take my daughter, Australian citizen, out of Australia to a foreign country. But it was a legit argument that she argued. So her goal was to paint me out to be the biggest monster. I get her tactics. I get it because it was helping her. She had to paint me out to be the biggest monster, and that's what's happened every week, every weekend, allegation after allegation after allegation.
You reckon that was the ulterior motive the whole time to eventually go back and destroy you in the process so you couldn't stop it?
When we broke up, she called my mum and said, I'm going to destroy your son's life, and just hung up. And that's exactly what she did. She destroyed him. It's crazy how one woman she gets the little puppeteer stick. On one stick she has the judge, one stick she has the independent children lawyer, one stick she has the family report writer. She's just dangling. And she just has caused, one woman has caused so much pain to me and my family and my friends. She refused to let my godparents see. Not once did my godparents see my daughter while in supervised care because she said no. Like, she has so much control. She would just say no. The judge said, oh, well, she said no, so you got to fight for it. Like, it's just so crazy. And yes, we've got the PACE alert. And then I'm very like, you probably see, I don't wear my medals to this country anymore because since day one, as a veteran, I don't expect free treatment, right? But I definitely expect to be heard. And since day one, sorry, are you frozen there?
No, no, all good.
So since day one, like every government agency involved in that court defended my ex from day one. And she wasn't even a citizen. She had a criminal record, which I didn't even know about. So I'll pause there. When I was going through the computer after we split, I realized that just before a partner visa got approved, they sent me an email saying, can you just touch base on where you've been the last 10 years? I said, no worries. But they sent her a separate email saying, can you please explain your criminal record? And this is a woman that was supposed to know everything about, right? Fell in love, was supposed to know everything about each other.
Yep.
And she got done for wounding, stabbing someone with her stiletto, her high heel. This is back in England. Theft, abusing police, drunken disorder. I'm thinking, I don't even know who this woman is. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's right. And how is she even in the country with that type of record? And how's the court not found this or lawyers?
So I brought hard evidence to the family report writer. She just refused to see it. She goes, "Oh no, you have to upload it or you have to do it." But she was more than happy to take everything my ex said hearsay in person and wouldn't take anything I said. And for the fathers at home, if you don't realize, if you when you see the family report writer, what happens is that she watches you spend 30 minutes with your daughter or your child, and then she interviews you for an hour and a half. So this so-called subject matter expert watches you for 30 minutes and then dictates whether you should have a future with your child or not. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's pathetic, isn't it? And
And
mate, the story is, you know, mate, it's getting me emotional just hearing this because I hear these type of stories, but never in depth and never to this level of the detail that you're going in. Like obviously haven't been through any of that myself, but I didn't even know half this stuff exists. And it just breaks my heart that, one, yourself, someone, I know well, but then also to know that there's thousands of other dads going through this every single week as well. And you see the 1%, you know, short story on social media or in person or in passing, but you don't realize there's actually such a bigger battle that these fathers are fighting, you know, just for the right to even have the ability to see their children for an hour a week.
the child.
Yeah, mate. And mate, where is it all at the moment? Like, what timeline are we speaking? Are you still in these negotiations, these DVOs, these court cases, these visitations? Have you got the ability, or has she left the country? Or
Yeah, I got most of that, mate. You just broke up for a bit. Yeah, apologize. My storyline's probably all over the place because it's just such a roller coaster. But sorry, what was your last bit?
is your daughter in the country, or is she actually in England, or have you got visitation now? Or
Oh, right. So what happened was the breaking point was the last 3 years, right? I was. Oh, you let me know when you're good because you just started for. Yeah, mate, I've got you now.
yeah, mate. Sorry, just a bit of a technical issue that the family's probably using the internet inside, and it's destroying it out here in the shed. So
You're right. Yeah, mate, I've got you now.
so yeah, mate. I before we had those technical difficulties here. So where are you at now with your daughter? You got the visitation rights? Are you able to see her? Is she even in the country, or where are things in that whole scenario right now?
You're right, mate. I was just going to move upstairs. Is that better for you? No.
Rightio. So, guys, apologies for the technical difficulties there. Something's going on with the internet. It is raining outside, so it could be something storm related, whatever. But yeah, so Percy, mate, where are you at now? Is there still ongoing, court cases? Are you still having to do the visitations and all that stuff? Is your partner in the country or out of the country? Like, where's things at now?
So, the last 3 years I've fought on for every inch, right? file an interim hearing just to get an extra hour. That would be 10 grand just to go to court and ask for an extra hour. The judge would approve it. I fought to get to 4 hours, to 5 hours. So the best I got in that 3 year mark was my daughter every second Saturday and Sunday for 5 hours. I couldn't have it overnight, because they just wanted to address everything once we got to trial. So I spent nearly 300 grand in both DV and family court, right? Did all the hard work, got out of supervision, did all the tests, gave all the court everything I wanted, passed everything. And then I had my daughter. So I've only had my daughter once for her birthday for 1 hour. She turns 4 in April next year. I've had her for 1 hour on her first birthday. That's it. I had her for her first ever Christmas Eve last year for 5 hours. And even then, my ex tried to cancel it. And then early this year, again, more allegation, child protection emailed me. My lawyer addressed it, got it squashed. He said, yeah, no, we don't need to follow this up. And obviously she's jumped to child safety. Child safety put a temporary assessment order on me. I go to pick up my daughter, they turned me away. Now they went to a after hours court care, which I didn't even know was a thing. It was like a Friday night. They went to court and put these allegations that my ex put forward and put a temporary assessment on me. They went to court again 10 days later. They pulled it. We submitted all my admissions, evidence, and they withdrew the application, squashed that. So then we go to court a couple of weeks later. During that 2.5 months, 3 months, she had been breaching court order. I hadn't seen my daughter for 3 months. Then the second weekend, she would just via email, no, I refused to bring my daughter. Meanwhile, the independent children lawyer gets CC'd and everything. She wasn't doing anything about it. These ICL is supposed to have a lot of weight, a lot of power. She refuses to do anything. So court orders aren't worth the weight they're in. So we finally go to court, submit all that evidence and thing. We want to go back to unsupervised time. Well, get my daughter back and get all the catch-up hours that's owed to me. And mate, so many times I walked in that court with my head up going, this is it. This is going to be the momentum will swing. I walked in there and he just said, what do you guys want? And like, we want my daughter back to go back to normal time and all the catch-up hours. And he goes, was there an investigation conducted? And my lawyer said, yeah, there was, by child safety. I had to go in with my lawyer, sit in there and be questioned over all these putrid allegations, which I addressed everything. They were all made up. And he just said, because there's an investigation, I need to look into this. And my lawyer said, yes, Your Honour, we've submitted all the evidence. It's all been squashed by Child Protection and Safety. It's all submitted affidavit form. And he just said, well, I haven't had time to read it, so come back in 5 weeks. And in the meantime, you can go back to supervision care. And I just said, I was just broken. That all the hard work I've done, 3 years, sold all my investments, sold my house, sold my investment property, sold the farm, to fund my legal team, to get to where all that hard work, and just like that, because of some allegations which I addressed, they'd been squashed. All the judge had to do was read it. I felt like getting up and say, get off your ass and go and read it. And he just said, I haven't had time to read it. I've got other matters to address today. And that's when I just knew. I said, it didn't matter if I had legal representation that day or not. The outcome was always going to be the same. It's not like he would have been, you've got the most expensive barrister in the world, I'll stop what I'm doing. And I walked out of the courtroom and it's always the same thing. The lawyer said, just take what you can get, just take your 3 hours supervising again. And it just broke me. I did it. And me and my mum went to Bingley Supervision Centre and I was supervising my daughter for 3 hours. And it just brought so much trauma, man. And I just couldn't do it. Me and my mum looked at each other and it's fucking so triggering now. You can imagine going out in the public, and we went to like a swim pool one time. Imagine having, I always wear my budgie smugglers. My daughter was in there with budgie smugglers. I was swimming. Imagine having someone behind you fully clothed with a clipboard and the key rings around, and they're just watching you. Like people are reading body language. They're like, "What's going on here?" You can tell something. It's the most degrading thing. And I said to my mum, I said, I can't do it. My mum's my biggest supporter, my biggest believer. Even when she said to me, she just said, I don't know how you're still standing, son. And she even knew then, like, even my biggest believer, was worried about me. And I just couldn't do it. And so I rang my ex and I just said, listen, I'm done. I'll give you everything you wanted. I'll let you relocate back to England. I'll drop the PACE alert on Toulouse passport and I'll give you full parental rights. And you know what she said? You'd think she would have been ecstatic. She said, no, I want first class flights, on 50 grand cash, and I want a calf bought for me back in England. And I just dropped the phone. And a lot of people might not believe this, but I was getting ready to go to work that night, and the emotional stress that my ex has called me, the emotional connection. So I've got a couple of bulging discs, which haven't given me grief for years. I've done a lot of rehab for me. Like, I was getting ready for work. I was looking at myself in the mirror, and my back gave way standing up. Wasn't even picking anything because the emotional stress that this woman causes me. And I was on the ground for 3, 4 hours. It was the worst. My back's ever blown out. I had to call the ambulance. Ambulance had to come get me. Mate, injected me Valium, bring whistle, morphine straight away. And that I was in hospital, and I just knew, oh, this, I have to call it, because I have to cut the head off the snake. But unfortunately, I have to sacrifice my daughter, because I had to assess my life mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, and it was, my health was just going down, and I was deteriorating. And I factored in my daughter. I've got mates that are still going through court, 5, 6 years in. I interviewed a guy that day 12 years in, and I just, unfortunately, I had to throw the cards in, and then I was speaking to Yogi, good mate of my ex-winner. He worked overseas for 10 years. He was in Dubai at the time, and I was telling him, and he said, "Oh, mate, it's admirable what you're doing. Like, you fought for so long, and then, yeah, then he passed of a blood clot." And this was probably the worst. 3 years was hell, but this last part was probably the worst. And looking back now, I think I don't realize how bad I was. I was at bed, I was at home, just throwing the towel in. My back's giving way, and I had people. I was waking up with people at my house, like people. I've messages, people like, "We're outside your house, open the gate." Like, obviously, people were very worried about you know, my welfare. And I actually had a mate that actually got into my house and checked. I had no idea till the next day, because I actually walked in your house and checked in on you on your bed. Like, I was out cold, like, and painkillers because I'm back in that. And I'm pretty light sleeping, man.
Yep.
And I just called my ex and I said, well, I didn't call, my legal team did. I said, you're not getting that. You're not. I'm literally giving you everything you want. So my lawyer said, if he's not going to be able to see his daughter again and you're going to relocate, he'll do it, but you got to sign this financial bond agreement to. I can't pay child support for the rest of the tool's life. I don't get to see her again. I'm pro child support if I can see my daughter. If I can't see her,
Yeah.
you know, so we made a deal in court. This is an ongoing issue I still have today. So I hope all the other fathers listening pay attention. We signed a financial bonding agreement the day of court. I signed it. There's no point for me going to court. I was done. She signed it. Um, the independent children lawyer actually stuck up for me this day. It's sad. It's a bittersweet, because you've done nothing for the 3 years. And when you realise I've thrown the towel, she's like, no, I don't want this to happen. I don't want the child to relocate. Like, where have you been the last 3 years?
Yeah.
And then um, and then the judge stuck up for me a bit too. But I've got this quote that he said, it's tatted on my arm. And this is his words. He said, and it is, in fact, in many ways, in my view, on balance, the most clear expression of the father's love of his daughter, that he's permitting her to relocate in circumstances where he may never have a relationship with her for many years, if ever. And it's, where have you been the last 3 years? None of you've thrown me, you've dragged me through the mud. I've done everything you asked for. You put me back on supervision. I've done nothing. I've cleared, all my name's cleared. I've never been charged with anything during that 3 years. And you wait for me to break and throw the towel and to stick up for me. And we signed the financial bonding agreement, and we didn't even talk again. I didn't know when she was gone. I gave the financial bonding agreement to child support, and they contacted me 4 weeks later after my daughter had left. And they said, we don't agree with your child support agreement. I said, well, I don't care. That's the mother's signature in front of her legal representation. That's the father's, my signature from legal representation. And they knock it back. And then we get in a heated argument on the phone. She goes, well, you're 4 weeks overdue. I said, well, in your eyes, I'm overdue, but I'm not. That's a financial bond. That's signed in court. And so we get in a heated argument. She goes, we'll get third parties involved. I said, no worries, send them to my house. I was thinking, some people, they froze my accounts. 24 hours later, I go to drive through. I couldn't even get food. They froze my accounts because she wanted to have a dick swinging contest on the phone. And when I went to the bank, they put a garnish year order on me, which I didn't know what it was. And even the bank manager said, oh my God, I haven't seen this before. I haven't seen one of these for years. And it's only over $1,200. I said, exactly. I said, do you know how many hundreds of thousands of people in Australia, men, are overdue by a month? Because we had a dick swing contest on the phone. So I had to appeal it. They've knocked back my appeal. All the evidence we submitted, even part of the deal was she had to email child support and tell them that she withdrew the child support. We've got that from her email correspondence from the legal team. That's all submitted as evidence. They've knocked it back again. They froze my accounts again, you know, and they wonder why I don't wear my medals anymore. I was actually going to leave the country. I was never going to return. You know, I just they also they used my service against me too. Sorry, in court. So obviously I had diagnosed with PTSD in 2018. So they go down this rabbit hole of, oh, he has PTSD. He mustn't be able to look after himself, so he can't look after his daughter. Like, where are you getting that from? You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously knowing a lot of veterans and a lot of mutual people with you as well. I've heard that so much that PTSD, depression is thrown against fathers in court, and you know, it,
Problem with it,
yeah, mate, it's terrible.
problem with it is there's a stigma behind it. As soon as they have PTSD, they think, oh, out of service, you go stand in the corner over there, and they weaponize it against you. And it's
Yeah,
silly. You look at everything I've achieved with PTSD the last 10 years. You know,
yeah,
like yeah, it's crazy, mate. So yeah, I haven't seen my daughter since April. When I was supervised again, which broke me. I couldn't do it. Like, you know, and that's dragging my daughter through it, being supervised.
yeah.
The system failed. The system, you know, you squash a DVO, they just put another one. Yeah, you know, it's just, you know, it's a revolving door, allegations after allegations, and yeah, no, it broke me. Nothing in life broke me, but that system broke me.
Mate, I have never heard a positive story from the angle of a father out of these situations. Is what for the dads out there listening, with the system that is against them from day one, what could recommend? Is there apps, is there documentation, is there like recording conversations, something out there that can give them the best chance of fighting a system that's against them, from the get-go?
I'm pretty good at making notes, you know, like keeping notes and evidence of stuff. And even then, yeah, I squashed all the DV and stuff, squashed all this, but I did everything the court asked me. It didn't matter. And honestly, the advice I give, and I remember clear as day before I filed the family court paperwork. I remember mates said to me, they said, "Don't waste your time. You're going to waste your time and money. You're up shit creek without a paddle. You're up shit creek without a canoe." But I said, "No, I'll prove you wrong." Because when you're in the driver's seat, you're like, "No, that's my daughter. I'm going to file for her." And you know what? They're right. The way I try and find the positive in the negative, I could have not. I could have walked away from that, and I could have kept all my houses, my investments, my jet skis, my toys, and all my money. But I would have been umming and ahhing for the rest of my life. Oh, I should have fought for my daughter. Whereas now, you know what? I fought for my daughter. It wasn't meant to be, but I can prove to her in the future if she ever comes back. I've got all the invoices, all the paperwork, all the paper trail fine for her. Honestly, and this will come, and I've had people say this to me, what advice would you give? Obviously, try and work it out. Obviously, that's the most common sense. Try and be amicable, like adults should be amicable. You know, working on this. But honestly, go to court. It's probably not good for the podcast, but it's on the street. Just lie because it blatantly paid dividends for my ex. If you're going to go to court, just lie because if you tell the truth, you're going to get nowhere. Um, but you know, try and keep busy mentally and physically because you know it's a vortex. Try and avoid. You know, I never did mediation because where there was DV involved, so we bypassed and went straight to court. I heard mediation just another waste of time and money too. Um, but you know, I'm guilty myself. Before I had kids, I've met fathers that said, "Oh, court got too much. I had to walk away." And I used to think, "How can you walk away from your kids?" And then you know what? When you're in the system and you realize it's you can't, you know, it's just a system that can't be beaten. So um, yeah, mate. I dread anyone that has to go through that system. You know, I wish it was more eternity.
Yeah, mate, it's like, mate, I'm yeah. First of all, I'm extremely sorry to hear that you've been through this. Someone who's given so much to their country and fought so hard and tried to do the right thing and had all their evidence. It's actually fucking heartbreaking to hear someone that and someone who's well connected to a lot of people go through this, go through this. And mate, I can't wait to catch up and just have a beer in person and fucking give you a hug, mate, because it's fucking it's terrible, and it's really opened my eyes up to especially in my position, dealing with so many dads who have never been this open, that are going through these things, and it's given me a better understanding to be able to help those guys deal with something that they aren't as open and honest with as you have been. So, mate, with the Broken Fathers podcast you're launching in 2025, how can people get involved? Where can they listen to the podcast? If they've got their own story and want to come on, and maybe, if there's any, positive stories to come out of such a negative, situation, and, something that's tailored towards screwing the dads over, like how can they get involved and, help share their story to hopefully inspire other dads?
Yeah, mate. So my Instagram is broken.fathers.podcast. It's going to be put on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcast. Just reach out to me through DM on Instagram. Mate, honestly, since I've dropped that video of my podcast and my purpose moving forward, mate, I have been bombarded with messages that have been overwhelming and humbling. But what crazy is, not only from broken fathers all around the world, but I've actually got DV female lawyers that want to come on because they believe that the system's broken for men.
Yep.
Females that are 25 years old that were brought up and they said I was poisoned by my mother. She brainwashed me, and since then I've left and I found my father. So I've just realised I'm going to hit this from all different angles, not just broken fathers, but lawyers, daughters that have grown up too. So so they've all reached out through me through DM on Instagram or Facebook. I'm on Facebook now too, and yeah, mate. The studio is on the Gold Coast, so yeah, I've got people traveling from all over. If they need help, if they're low on funds, we're more than happy to help out with flights to get them down there to share their story. And yeah, mate.
Mate, well, first and foremost, mate, I appreciate you being so open and honest. I'm sure this is going to help fathers out there, worldwide who listen to this. I'll make sure that I've got all your different links and different, contacts to yourself in the show notes. So, guys, whoever's listening, make sure that you get in touch with Jared, through the Instagram. And yeah, the podcast is coming out in 2025. And mate, I hope through all your interviews and all your different guests that you've just mentioned that there's can be some positive change, and the father in 12 months time might not have to go through the ringer as much as people have to right now because of the positive impact that you're going to put out there into the community.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate you having me on, and yeah, I'm going to do my best to be the voice for all the broken fathers out there. And to anyone that's listening, my platform is for you guys to tell your story. It's a safe platform. You didn't get a voice in court. I know what that feels like, so you're going to have a voice on my platform.
I highly appreciate you taking the time out of your day, mate, and we'll speak to you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. God bless.
Cheers, mate.